Hello, everyone. Welcome to my podcast for everyone who wants to build a successful career or business through unlocking their own unique value and potential. Just a gentle reminder for everyone to follow me on Substack and LinkedIn. These are my main channels where you can find my content. And of course, you can find these podcasts on YouTube as well. The links to all these channels will be provided in the description. And so it's easy to find. And of course, I always welcome you to comment and share your thoughts. Today, my guest is a female entrepreneur and a strategic coach, helping entrepreneurs to set achievable goals, scale up their businesses, and even become mentors and facilitators to others. And so from what I have seen and heard about you, it looks like she knows everything about focus, motivation, and impact. So I'm very much looking forward to this conversation. Please welcome Dorit Roest. Hi, Dorit. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Warm welcome to my podcast. I was really looking forward to this conversation. As I mentioned briefly, that once we met, I've watched your presentation, and I was very impressed by what you are doing now, but also what you went through becoming an entrepreneur. And I immediately wanted to share your story. So thank you for accepting this invitation to record this podcast with me, for others to be inspired and hopefully motivated to on their journeys as well.
Thanks so much for having me. It's an honor.
Tell me, I'm very curious, and I want you really to share your personal story, your journey with others. Maybe let's start a little bit with talking about your personal journey. Tell me, first of all, how, why, and when did you decide to become an entrepreneur yourself?
Oh, wow. Well, there's actually one moment that I can really recall. I was at a business course from ABN AMRO, a big Dutch bank. And during my studies, I always saw this ladder that I had to climb, and now I know it's the corporate ladder. But I always thought, okay, a traineeship at a big corporate or Heineken or a bank or something like that. That is the ultimate goal. So I just took that ambition and I put it on top of my head, and I was like, this is what I want. And then I was there at the business course, and during my studies, I did everything right. I did a board year, and I had good grades, and then I suddenly realized I did all that for this. This is not my thing. This is not something that sparks my energy. This is not for me. It's amazing, but it's not for me. And at that time, I already had an idea that soon I found out had the potential to become a gap in the market. But that was the moment that I was like, okay, let's pursue that alternative route. And so I did.
And did you know right away that for you, alternative route was to go into the making your own business?
Well, I didn't think of it as such a final decision. It was just that I thought, okay, I will be soon graduated. Now I still have my I work at a bar somewhere, and I have my what do you have? Duo studiefinanciering, how do we call it? You have
Loan, yeah.
your loan. So I was like, okay, this is the moment for me to experiment with that path of entrepreneurship. So I already had a food blog because I just wanted to discover, can I build a website? And I loved cooking. So that's how I realized, okay, now I know how to build a website. And the idea that I had also came out of that industry, because I thought, why don't I create a marketplace where bloggers and companies can connect, and where bloggers can pitch on campaigns from companies to help them spread the story of their brands. So,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, ABN AMRO, funny enough, was my first client. ABN AMRO was sponsoring a big cultural event, and they were looking for cultural bloggers to actually visit and share content about that event. So I built that marketplace just on a WordPress page. I did it by myself. It was like the ultimate MVP.
Mm-hmm.
ABN AMRO turned out to become the first client. And within 1 month, I already knew, okay, this is the right moment with the right product. And I could make a living out of my first campaigns immediately. And within 1 month, I hired 5 interns. You gotta love the naivety at that age, but yeah. So I hit the ground running.
Wow, incredible. And well, obviously, when you get your first success, this is very exciting and it gives you a lot of energy. Then you keep going. And what happened then? How did you grow? Did you grow your business that one, or did you start something new? What
Mhm.
happened then?
Well, the real story is that obviously, yes, there was a lot of success, and especially the first 1-2 years, I was literally the expert in influence marketing. I called it bloggers marketing, and I got a co-founder on board, and we expanded to a team of 13 people. But then reality hit, and then you also have to acknowledge, okay, I am maybe not good at everything, but I tried to do everything back then. I thought as a boss, as a leader, I should be able to do everything. So there were a lot of personal setbacks, like uh, realizations and moments of, oh my God, what am I doing? So it was not all one big dream, but it was a very exciting time, and we were building an airplane in the sky. We were just figuring it out, and but only 3 years after I learned how to actually build a tech startup, because I never knew that I was building a tech company. But this was a hardcore tech company with a lot of data. We had 4,000 influencers. We're matching them with over 500 companies. We had those campaigns, reports, data, everything. But after 6-7 years, I also had to acknowledge to myself that I was not that passionate about the world of social media and advertising. I just loved building a company. So I merged with another company, and I also decided to take a step back to create space for something new, something else. Some people say the 7-year itch with a relationship. I had that with the company. Um, and yeah, so then I got the opportunity to move to the US and to build an organization there for the Dutch government to help Dutch startups expand to the US. So there I was an entrepreneur because an intrapreneur because I got this assignment together with one other man. So the two of us, we just got carte blanche and we could build that organization the way we wanted it, but still it was under the umbrella of the Dutch government. So I did that for a little bit over 2 years, and then the organization was established, and it was an amazing ride. But again, I felt now it's time for me to spread my wings again. So again, I closed the door in order for another one to open. But that took a bit longer. I spent at least a year floating around, not knowing what my next company topic should be.
Interesting. The way you describe your journeys looks like you went through some cycles. There was a cycle, there was a
Ah,
period of so many years, then this ended, then a
yeah.
new cycle started, and then another one. And even with the moment, a gap year that you didn't know what to do, it was also still something that like it was a kind of a breather for you to
Yeah.
get back to the Netherlands, kind of get your things together and
Yeah.
rethink. again what you
And
want to.
I also got a baby girl in the meantime. So
Oh, there you
let's
go.
not underestimate
That's
the
not
impact.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. That's a full-time job on its own.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So no, it's completely understandable that you needed that time. But it's interesting, like, so how do you see this kind of cycles that you go through? Like you go from one thing to another, and do you feel the connection between the two? Do you feel that you are growing
Mm.
through these phases, and kind of it leads you to the next level
Mhm.
of your career, of your vision?
Yeah.
How do you see this?
This is what I really liked about our previous conversation, which we had backstage, obviously, but that you really see the patterns and you're connecting the dots. So thank you for doing that. And indeed, it cycles. And I feel like as an entrepreneur, the type of entrepreneur that I am, I'm a creator, I'm a builder, and I love the thrill of and excitement of when nothing is certain, that everything is possible. And so after once everything is up and running, when everything becomes about scaling and making it more efficient, that's not where my talent lies. I can do it, but I don't get energy out of it, and I'm better at starting something new. So the first time, it took me 7 years to acknowledge, hey, maybe it's time to pass on the torch to someone that's actually good at this phase in the company. And the second time, I could see, hey, it's 2 years. It's been 2 years. We built an accelerator for Dutch startups to expand to the US, and we did one cohort. And then it was about repetition and improving, but the challenge was already a little bit out of the organization for me.
Mhm.
So I think I was a bit more, I had more experience, a bit more wise, and I could see this is the moment now where I have to pass on the torch and go out and figure out something new to start. So I think that's why it took less time the second time.
Mhm.
Um, and also the first two times, the first two organizations were really initiated from an external motivation. So the first time I just saw this gap in the market and I was like, is no one doing this? Then I'm doing this. And I literally was the first one with a marketplace. I could literally not find any other competitor worldwide that had a marketplace where you switch supply and demand that way. The second time, the Dutch government actually had this assignment. So it also was not something intrinsic that really came from me. But my third company is really built on my talents and on where I have something to add to this world,
Mhm.
if you understand what I mean. So it's way more intrinsically motivated, and probably also a lot more sustainable that way, because this is where everything comes together for me.
Mhm.
I love to teach. So in the first two companies, I also had an academy within the company because I love to teach and I love to share my knowledge. In this third company, I have enough space to keep on iterating and keep on come up with new initiatives. I have the most amazing people to work with. I can build and scale this company without um, losing my freedom, because this type of company I can build with a hybrid team, and I don't need to have one big headquarter where everyone comes together. So that's also something that I found out was important to me. So hopefully this third cycle, I learned how to build a company that really matches everything that I need, so I can excel and thereby make the most impact and
Yeah,
help the
and it
people.
feels like indeed of course I will ask you a little bit more about your current company, but first I just want to say that like it feels like you've learned a lot from all these previous assignments and you've collected them as small pieces of one puzzle, but now you're putting that together. And it feels like I've got really the goosebumps when I listen to you, because I feel the energy that comes from you. Like, you're so passionate about what you're doing. And usually it happens when a founder is building a company based on really strong self-awareness. And I have the same feeling with you, that you're really self-aware, like you know your strength, you know what you like, and you know what you don't like. And so then you say, no, this time I'm coming to build my product and my companies and my team and my whole vision based on where I come from, based on my values and how I see this should be. And I think this is amazing, and this is really the indeed the most sustainable approach how to do this.
Yeah.
Like, as I come from marketing background, usually in marketing they would say, okay, build a product based on the needs of the customer, do your research, blah blah. It's another way of doing it, but I feel that the more sustainable way for building a business is indeed to come with the intrinsic understanding of what you stand for, like what is your DNA and how are you going to build your business. So I get this feeling with you, because now you are also working with many other entrepreneurs. You help them to start their businesses and also to develop. Tell us more about this company. What is that exactly that you do?
Yeah. So I built the strategy sprint company. And I don't know, have you ever done a design sprint?
Yes, I've done that. I hope people who listen to this podcast are familiar with that too.
Yeah. So the design sprint is a 5-day formula focused on improving a product and really dive into the understanding the standpoint of the customer, of the user, and really build to innovate and improve. It's there's multiple people involved from multiple departments in the company. And it's amazing. I did this, I think, 3 years after I started my first company at Google. And it just blew my mind to this approach of seeing a complete overview, not on a laptop, but on a wall, and to work with post-its, which really forces you to simplify and helps you to speak the same language with other people around you. So this whole design thinking approach that is embedded in the design sprint really inspired me. And then I got back to my company and I was like, okay, so we now focused only on the product, but what if I use this approach to understand the full, like all the aspects of my company? So I started experimenting with that. And after 12 years of experimenting with my own way of creating a strategy that's both agile and that's both aligned with me, my personal goals, with the short-term actions and that are aligned with the long-term achievements that we are going towards. That whole method that I created for myself turned out to be a method that is very helpful for all kinds of founders, also outside of the startup space, outside of the startup bubble that I was actually always in. So in my search for the topic of my third company, as I just mentioned, I took almost a full year for that. I thought, why don't I just do these strategy sessions the way I do it for myself? And then based on these strategy sessions, I will probably find out where my fire lights up, where I find my spark, where I feel, hey, this is the direction that I want to go in with my third company. But while I was doing these strategy sessions, and I soon called them strategy sprints, inspired by the design sprint, I found out that this approach, everything pressure cooker mode with the post-its, a series of short exercises to finally have the complete overview of your company, those elements were were just having such amazing results. I had founders that were totally realigned with their goals, and at the end of a strategy sprint, you have a roadmap for the next quarter, year, and 5 years. So it's super efficient. It's quick. And I soon realized, oh my God, maybe this is my next company. Maybe this method is something that we need, and especially outside of the startup bubble, to bring that everything is really directed towards how can you scale your impact, where can you innovate, how can you make this company, you're the architect of your life, how can you build this company in a way that it serves you as a person, as a founder as well. And that whole mindset and all it was just magic. And I was fully booked all the time. And then soon there was one entrepreneur, and she said, I also want to become a strategy sprint facilitator. And I had that as a potential scaling method on my roadmap, but for a year later. But then I thought, yeah, well, I'm not scared of a little experiment. And I also like the magic of things just happening. So let's just set up a pilot with her. And now I have had 2 cohorts of facilitators in the academy. So now we have 12 certified strategy sprint facilitators, and they all went through a 3-month academy. And it's just, these are the most amazing people, like people you want to sit in a room with for a full day. They come from their own experience as an entrepreneur. They are ready to pay it forward. They use this method to work their magic, and some have expertise, like for instance, Mieke Jansen is a facilitator, and she does these strategy sprints with companies, but then afterwards her expertise lies in internationalization. You can actually also follow up with her as an internationalization consultant. So yeah, so this is the company now. We provide strategy 1-day strategy sessions to entrepreneurs that have less than 100 FTEs. So we have a lot of startup founders, we have a lot of SME entrepreneurs, and also quite some solopreneurs. And it works equally well amongst all these 3 different audiences.
Okay, but do you have any specific timing that you open registration, that you're sort of a schedule for the academy for the next one? Is that something that you can share now, or is it better to check on your website?
Well, just as I had the first entrepreneur knocking on my door before I was ready, I also now have 3 international potential facilitators that are on the waiting list for my first English cohort. I have not set a date for that yet, but if people are interested, let me know, because it is coming. But this is also interesting. I always stress that you need to keep your company as agile as possible, especially while you're still building and while you're still innovating. And now I'm also a little bit like I have the potential to also expand internationally now, and have the first cohort for international, like English speaking cohort. But then again, I'm also still fine-tuning the method together with all the facilitators. We're like at 96%, I think. So I feel like I should keep the agility until we're at 100%, and then I can create all the content in English as well as Dutch. Because otherwise I will have like a 10-headed dragon.
That sounds like the success of your method is growing quickly, and it's pushing you actually to scale up and to really offer your product now to new markets. And this is actually a very nice challenge, that obviously your product fits the market and there is a high demand, but you need to quickly quickly get ready, basically, to accommodate that demand, basically.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
agility is one of the things that I actually wanted to ask you about. What is your experience also with other entrepreneurs that you're working with? Why is it critical for entrepreneurs to cultivate this trait, this agility, and really, like, you really need to have that. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for you to build a business.
Yeah. Well, this is a very fast changing world we're living in, right? There's a lot,
Especially with AI in our world right now.
especially in the tech scene, but also life itself is just moving so fast. Oh, sorry. Can you still see me? Yes, there you are. It's moving so fast. So it's not only about what's changing in your outer world, but also in your inner world as a founder. You can also one day feel 100% motivated and to build this company, but then the other day you feel like, okay, but now I want to go into that direction. You want to be able to adapt with speed, with efficiency to any changes within yourself, within your company, or outside of your company. And if you are able to adapt with speed and efficiency, you can also jump on opportunities. And that is actually going to be a unique set, no, not a unique selling point, but an advantage compared to the bigger organizations that don't have that flexibility anymore. So that, and also if you keep it light, if you keep this, you need to keep on challenging yourself. Like, is everything necessary in my company? What is excess baggage? What can I throw overboard to make sure that I'm more light, that I can actually move forward in a lighter way? It helps you to see what it's actually about, what is actually making an impact.
And operational agility is super important. That's exactly what you were saying. I totally agree with you. What about agility in your vision? Do you think your vision needs to change? How often do you need to revisit your vision?
That's a very good question, because it really depends on the type of entrepreneur, because I really like doing these strategy sprints because you really get like a sneak peek into the real thoughts and the real things that are going on in the brain of an entrepreneur. And what I see there is that there are entrepreneurs that are really like laser focused on that one achievement in 2 years' time, and they are just going for it. But there's also other types of entrepreneurs that are just enjoying the journey, that are creating a life with their company they like and they love. And it's not so much about that one milestone in 2 years' time. It's about enjoying every day and feeling like you make an impact, or you enjoy your company every day. So there's two types of entrepreneurs there. And there's also two types of motivation that lies underneath that all of that. So the one that is super focused on a 2-year goal, usually they are extrinsically motivated. The motivation lies externally, and usually that doesn't really change. But for the ones that just want to enjoy the journey, it's mostly about creating a lifestyle with their company that they like. And then their why and their vision can actually change like every month or every 2 months. So then you need to do that a little bit more often.
And do you see any link between these types of entrepreneurs with the female and male sort of mindset?
Yes, I hate to say it, but yes, definitely. I'm always a little bit cautious in these kind of things, because I'm a true advocate for female founders, but I also see that ambition is wired differently in women. And enjoying the journey and making sure that your company and and your choice of career actually helps you create the lifestyle that you want is usually something that I see with a lot of women, but it's not so black and white, but I see it more in female entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I agree with you. I see as well in coaching when I work with women, one clear, distinct difference between men and women in business or in corporate career is that men are very likely to be comfortable to take risks, and they just take it as part of their life, and it's absolutely normal. Women try to avoid this as much as possible, so they prefer to go slower, play safer, be more comfortable.
But it is also very uncomfortable because now I'm in the stage with my company as well. Literally right now, I am actually spending money that I don't have yet. Because my costs are just a lot higher because I now hired someone. Also, like for one academy, I take everyone to a nice hotel, and there's a lot more costs here. But there's also potentially a lot more revenue. And right now, I am actually investing a lot of my time, energy, and money in the next phase for my company. But oh, it's sometimes like I wake up in the morning and I'm like, it's so uncomfortable. I have to move through that uncomfortable feeling of I'm taking a risk here now.
Yeah.
Because I know and I feel that it's the right thing to do and it's going to move my company forward. But somehow, in the first company, I did it all the time, but I was so young, I did not really have anything to lose. And now in this phase of my life, I feel it's more of a burden. So maybe it's also my biological, my instinct saying, don't take a risk. But I have to move through that. And I do that as well, but I'm not saying it's easy.
No, it's absolutely not easy. I completely understand you. What helps you to go through this? What kind of tips and tricks are you using for yourself? And maybe if you share them, some other ladies, female entrepreneurs, will also use them as well.
I'm also very curious what you think, by the way, but I will share some of my tips and tricks. So I'm sort of fooling myself that I have a lot of time, I have a lot of space, and I have a lot of resources. So, for instance, last week, my friend living in Italy asked me, "Do you want to come and join me for a couple of days?" And I was like, yes, I have time. Yes, I can buy a ticket and just live the Italian life to create space for this next phase as well. Okay, there's more background to this story, by the way. So this might sound a little bit crazy, like if you are in a phase. Anyway, so this is one thing. Another thing is that there are days that you're not feeling it. Then I'm not forcing it, but then I'm just doing other types of work because I need the sparking and super motivated Dorit that I do feel like in other days. I need that for the bigger strategic type of work. So, for instance, this morning, and I started and I felt like everything was very heavy. And then I'm not going to force myself into the bigger strategic breakthrough projects. No, I just did my email, for instance. So I'm just accepting the flow that I am in. And then the moment I'm in a more like high vibration, that's the moment when I really work on the things that are going to move my company forward. So at 12 o'clock, we hosted a strategy masterclass in my strategy club. It's my freemium membership for people that want to work on the strategy, but are not ready to commit to a strategy sprint. And then they can sign up for monthly masterclasses. And that masterclass was about dreaming big, and it was facilitated by one of the facilitators. And it was amazing. She really created such a nice atmosphere, even online. And we had all these people, all these entrepreneurs joining, and everyone was writing down at the end, was writing down their one word that was summarizing their dream and keeping it up in front of the camera. And I was like, oh my God, We're making so much impact. I love it. Okay, and then I'm in the high vibes, and then I work on the bigger, more important things. So those are just a couple of examples. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, you're an expert.
Well, from my experience working with clients, entrepreneurs, and business women as well, I, of course, come across a lot of fears. And yes, women tend to be more risk averse than men. And in that case, I ask them a question: what is the worst case scenario that's going to happen? And the reason why I do this is then they actually start looking at that situation that scares them, and they realize that this is actually a fantasy. It's not real. That fear is not real. And when they start thinking about it, okay, but then if it's not real, then there's nothing to be afraid of, in fact. And it happens really quickly. With just one question, I can like turn around their mindset to understanding that there is rationally nothing to be afraid of at all. And in fact, I also explained that in our life, the way we live in such a advanced world, in fact, there are only few real risks that we have, like a couple, Nothing really, really bad will happen with you. The chance is really, really low. So everything what's going through your head is actually your mind is creating this. But the danger is that if you start thinking about that fear, it really creates your reality. Then you really start believing in it, and you really start seeing it. Yeah, this is actually, if you're afraid that you're not going to have sales, or if you're afraid that you're going to lose money, or maybe this was not a good investment, you start seeing this as a reality. And your brain really thinks that this is it. This is what's happening for real. But it's not. So one trick is, first is I ask the question, what's the worst case scenario? Then another trick, what I also recommend doing, is to sit down, take a piece of paper, blank piece of paper, and write down the facts. The facts. Only the facts, not horrible fantasies or thoughts, emotions that are running through your head, but real facts. Like, okay, I have no money. Is it really true? Okay, how much do I have on the bank account? I have, like, I don't know, 50 euros left. So it's not true. You don't have zero. You're not bankrupt yet. So when you start confronting your brain with facts, then the fear will disappear, because the fear cannot handle the facts. And as I always say, facts are your best friends. Try to look at facts as quickly as possible, and you will understand that things are not that bad. And usually you also start seeing a solution or a next step.
Yeah. And this is so powerful, because a lot of the entrepreneurs are optimists, right? They like to look at the opportunities, and they like to look at the potential upside of things. And they tend to look away from all the risks. And this is also what we do in a strategy sprint. Then it's sort of a SWOT analysis, like the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But then if you really look at the opportunities and the threats there, and especially the threats, is it really like a Titanic that you are heading towards? Like, you can sail around it most of the time. And there's just this sort of peace that comes over an entrepreneur once they actually finally face those fears. And then they acknowledge, oh, wait, I can work around those fears, or some of them are just limiting beliefs. Then there's just space for new, exciting stuff.
Yeah, no, exactly.
That's extremely valuable. Yeah.
Very nice. And working with entrepreneurs in your academy and also in Strategy Sprint, do you see that what's the ratio between female and male entrepreneurs that come to you?
Well, I have been in the female founder space for a long time. So I started my own little micro community of female founders, and also the influencer marketing space was very female. So I tend to have a bigger network in the female area. Right now, the ratio is 75-25. 75% women, 25% men. But I'm really keen on creating diversity also in the group of facilitators. They also really work very well together as well. So they do strategy sprints on each other to practice, and there's a very active WhatsApp group, and we do a yearly summit as well. So this facilitators community, I also want a lot of diversity in that group, and make sure that every age, every gender, every race, everything is in there. I try to, at least.
And so looking ahead, how do you see your company evolving? Also in relation to the emerging trends, what's happening now in the tech world as well. What are your thoughts? What's ahead of you? What are you thinking about?
So this company, I'm planning on selling it within the next 5 years. I am going to hire a CEO in 2025, by the end of 2025, because that is about the time span that I feel like I can add the most value in the beginning. And then I want someone that is very good at scaling. And I still want to stay involved, but I want to create space for someone else to take over there. And I feel like I'm just thinking about what about there's some future plans that we are having right now, but I did not share everything towards the facilitators yet. So I'm just thinking, what am I going to share here in the podcast now? But what I see and what I feel is that entrepreneurs hold all the answers. They just need some time and space and a good facilitator or a good business coach next to them to make sure that they are reaching the potential that they have. And there's several ways of getting there. And I feel like my company could become a bigger toolkit for all kinds of ways to reach that goal. And I feel like facilitation is one thing, and it's more rational, it's more planning, it's more about the company. But then coaching, what you are doing, for instance, you cannot miss that either. So that should be next to it. But my company will fully focus on facilitation, and not so much on the personal development and on coaching. So I'm really going into that direction.
Yeah, I really love that you have such clarity about how it should be, what it is going to be in a few years. Like, this is really impressive, because not everybody does that. And this is also what I do with my clients in coaching as well. Telling them and helping them to get that clarity where they are heading with it. But yeah, and also it starts always with understanding yourself. Why do you want this? Why do you want to start this business anyway? And it starts with a person. Like, you see something that triggers you, makes you unhappy, and then you say, I'm going to solve this problem. Yeah. And that's how it starts, right?
Yeah. And I also like that there's this exercise that you just write down all the talents that you have. And I really try to see, like, how can I add value to my company? Where do my talents lie? And everything that's not in that zone of genius, I should find someone else to do that. And it's just very liberating to build this company in that way.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, and I understand that. Although sometimes it's difficult to understand that zone of genius of yours, because we all, due to our biases and all our, education and experiences, we tend to kind of wear a mask, play a role, some kind of role in the society. So we tend to forget what is real you, what's your real talent plus your passion. And that's your zone of genius. But that's possible to discover.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I'm
but
happy.
then I have something very interesting, and I'm curious what you as a coach think of this.
Okay, go ahead.
Because time is not my friend. I am like when I was a kid, I was always late. I was always in a flow, and then I forgot the time. And even my watch, it doesn't have a battery for over a year, maybe. I don't know. Like literally, this is something that I struggle with. But then again, the strategy sprint is timed on the minute. It's a series of 40 exercises. I have speaking cards, I have a timetable, I have a slide deck, a workbook. It's timed on the minute. So every exercise has a time frame, it's tested. And so it's for me it's very funny that I am not really someone that is usually very fixated on time, but then the strategy sprint, my method, the whole secret sauce to this method is the fact that we safeguard the fact that in 8 hours in one day you will cover all the topics because everything is so timed.
Yeah, and what other things in your life where you are always on time and you are organized, and can you give an example?
Well, so I trained myself to be more on time and to be more organized. I am
Yeah, that is true. But are there other things that you would say, yeah, well, this thing I will not miss ever? Yeah, like if you, I don't know, I don't want to give you an example. I want you to come up with an example. Can you think of
well,
any?
I'm also a speaker, so I often do keynotes, and then I have I have two timers on my stage to make sure that I stay within the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, professionally, I
And
am
in a personal life, anything?
no. For instance, when I got my baby, my sister
Yeah.
always about time, 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 time,
Yeah.
and I tried it, and then I was no, go with the flow. So feeding and everything. But I do have to say, for sleeping, I was my friend's sleeping coach. So every day at 7 o'clock she was in bed, and at 7 o'clock I took her out of bed.
And how old is she now?
2, and she's been
Okay.
sleeping for 2 years. I'm so
Oh,
lucky.
you are so lucky. You're blessed with
I
such a
am. I am.
wonderful baby.
Now I can build a company because I sleep.
Yeah. Fantastic. And yeah, wait till she goes to school. I'm very curious to know how you're gonna manage the schedule, because then things become the pressure goes up a little bit.
Mhm.
But no, but it's interesting what you're describing, because you seem to choose. You can be organized, obviously, so you can. It's not something impossible for you, but you choose what's important for you. What's important. Your brain chooses, if this is
Yeah.
important for me, I am going to be on time, and if this is something that could be flexible, then yeah, I let it go.
Yeah. But I do
And
think
it
it's
works.
ironic. It's ironic that
Yeah.
thing that I always heard as a kid, you are horrible with timing. And then the company that I created is centered around timing.
Especially growing up in the Dutch culture, where the time is very important, and parents are usually, not only parents, but the whole society is usually very strict about being on time.
Yeah.
It must have been difficult for you to grow up.
Yeah. Well, it's yeah, it was challenging.
Mm,
But
yeah,
it brought me here, maybe connecting the dots.
yeah, but it can also be a strength. So definitely, most likely, you can work with people from other cultures that see time differently. For
Mhm.
example, in Asian cultures, in African cultures, people are late even for meetings or half an hour, and that's
Yeah, yeah.
considered to be
Yeah.
normal. Probably this will not be making you upset, as this makes upset a lot of Dutch entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. But I do like entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, time is the new currency, right? They don't have time. So the promise to have the most effective strategy session in one day
Mhm.
resonates really well with them. And the pressure cooker mode exercises, they like it because they feel like, okay, I'm making the most out of my time. But for me personally, if I did like 2 sprints in a week, then I sort of needed to go towards the other extreme. Then I would really, in Dutch we say lummelen, like just hanging around, go with
Yeah,
the
relax.
flow at
Yeah.
home, to sort of counter that pressure cooker mode during the strategy sprints.
Yeah, understand. Wow. So nice talking to you. I really could have talked to you for, I think, another 2 hours easily.
Mm.
Very exciting journey. I think you've shared a lot of interesting insights. I would like you to give some piece of advice for entrepreneurs who might feel overwhelmed with their business at the moment, or maybe lost, or maybe they're thinking about changing their vision or whatever they're going through. Any advice, any kind of tips, maybe comments of what you want to share with them?
Well, I know how you feel, for everyone listening that feels this way, because I think 3 weeks ago, I was about to start my third cohort for the academy. But I felt, oh my God, there's so much maintenance that I still need to do on my company, on the method, on all kinds of things before I can go into a new cohort and build, like it's a Jenga tower, and I put new blocks on top of it, while actually the foundation needs some extra work. So what I did was I stopped everything, and I said, okay, until further notice, I am working on the fundamentals, the foundation of my company. And I'm still in that phase. So this is now 3 weeks in, I think. And sometimes you just have to create space. You have to slow down in order to build a company that can actually speed up faster. And that means that you need to take a risk there. You need to sometimes you don't feel like you have the space and time to go into that standstill. But literally the first day in this whole, what do I call it, business sabbatical, I had like amazing breakthroughs about the strategy. So try to create space and time to figure out what is really important to you, and then make sure you get back on track towards your goals, towards what's actually important to you. You got this.
Thank you so much for, I really love your insights, your story. Obviously, it's very inspiring journey that you have shared, but also your honesty, that you say things as they are. You know, some things are fun and some things are not fun, and this is just how it is. And there's no sugarcoating, you know, but you can get through this. So I really think that this would be really helpful and inspiring for people to listen to your story. And I will do my best to share your story.
Me too. I will also share it, definitely. And thank you so much for creating this space for me to share my story, but also to share your wisdom. I'm 100% sure that this helps a lot of entrepreneurs to get back on track.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, then hope this was useful for everyone. And thanks again for listening. Until next time.